Hey, what is up, guys? It is John here once again from the Collector's Company, bringing you guys another deck profile. Now, Set 14 is right around the corner. It's coming up in the next, well, this weekend and next weekend as well, with pre-releases and whatnot all around the world. And I'm going to take this time to actually give you guys some deck profiles and stuff I've been testing online. And yeah, so the first deck I'm going to showcase for you guys today is Majin Buu. Now, I think this leader is super good. I've heard a lot of mixed things about it, but I think overall this leader is a very strong generic green leader. For me, in my eyes, this leader kind of replaces Soul Striker as the best generic green leader in the game. I know the deck I'm presenting you is kind of like a token swarm deck, but there's plenty of different ways you can take this deck. As a matter of fact, you don't actually really need the Majin Buu engine, but I think it is very, very makes sense to run the Majin Buu engine. Right? It has a lot of synergy and it's pretty good. So for those of you guys who do not know what this leader card does, again, it is brand new. It's Majin Buu, green on the front side, auto once per turn. This is important, this once per turn bit, but when this card attacks, you choose one card in your life and place it underneath your leader, then you draw two cards. So this deck allows you to, it kind of blows that you don't actually have the easiest access from cards from your life, but you're able to go through your deck fairly quickly, and you can kind of as long as you don't hit your SCR, for example, right, in your, with this ability, it's not going to be too big of a deal. And the second ability has is active main, once per turn, Spirit Boost 1, and for those of you guys who do not know what Spirit Boost does, you choose one of your, to activate a Spirit Boost skill, you need to remove the specified amount of markers from your Unison. So this is just, you remove one marker from Unison to activate the skill, and what this ability does is that you choose any of your opponent's cards in their drop area that has an energy cost of 4 or less and place it on this card. This ability is super good, it's super relevant, it allows you to snipe cards out of your opponent's drop area such as Koitsukai, Draw Apes, and Green Ribrianne. I think this deck, for people that are really worried about blue next deck, I think this leader specifically hard counters blue. I think it's such an uphill battle for blue just as soon as they see this leader, because you can take so many of the cards with this and gain a lot of effects. And the really cool thing about the other part of this effect is that the card you absorb, right, you get to choose one keyword skill on that card. So the three ones you'll be mainly after, the ones you'll probably have access to, is Double Strike, Critical, and Dual Attack. The fact that it is the order is once per turn means Dual Attack isn't as good, but a cool thing you can do is swing with your leader on the front, proc the skill with the dual attack, you'll restand, then you can awaken, and then swing again and gain the draw on both sides. That is something you can do only if you absorb a dual attack card, which is still pretty good. Again, back to the point I'm talking about with versus blue, where you can just blow out that whole color. Their main gimmick is to Soul Strike specifically. They deploy all the Bojack cards, and you can just counter them with this leader. So the Awaken is just a 4 or less life, untap one, draw a card, pretty standard, pretty generic stuff. So on the back, its auto skill is once per turn again, because if you give a dual attack, you'll be drawing a lot of cards. When this card attacks, you draw a card, and the active main Spirit Boost has been buffed on this side. It also allows you to target battle cards in your opponent's battle area as well. This is huge, right? The fact that your leader has inbuilt free board clear is pretty insane. A lot of the cards in the format right now, or just in general, are 4 or less. So this is a very powerful board control ability, and it's just really great that's on the leader. And the other ability is that you choose 2 cards underneath your Majin Buu leader and discard them, and then you permanently gain 5,000 power until the end of your opponent's turn. This is just huge, right? You're able to it's essentially a sensory beam for both players' turns. If you have dual attack, whatnot, it's just insane value considering you just naturally put cards under your leader. So that's what the leader does. We'll quickly go over the archetype. So the 2 cards I'll talk to you guys about first are these 2 4-drop Majin Buus. They both kind of do the same thing. This one, when you play it, allows you to draw a card, and then this other one here, when you play it, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add a green Majin Buu amongst them to your hand. No, sorry, not a green Majin Buu, a card with margin special trait, right? So I think that's only Majin Buu though, from memory, honestly. It hits pretty much your entire chain, but that's not even the important thing. The main thing is this Union Absorb skill here that they both have. Pretty much all your Majin Buus have this, all the weaker ones anyway. You choose a card under your leader card, which you naturally do with its own leader skill. You place that card under that card, and then you search your deck for this 4-drop Majin Buu here and place it on the top of this card. We might as well just jump straight into the 4-drop now. Now, both of these go into it, and you can also play the 4-drop from your deck or drop area. That is why I only have the 4-drop at 3, just because you can recycle from your drop area. Just kind of to save on space in the deck, right? This card is cracked. This is your deck right here. The thing that's insane about this deck that is just this card here. The fact that if you see one of your 1-drops, it lets you go into this 4-drop, and this 4-drop facilitates your deck. So we'll go over the auto skill first. So when this card is played, you search your deck for one Unison with 1000 power, being your Babidi, and you add it straight to your hand. Then if you add a card to your hand, you have to discard a card from your hand. So most of the time, you just want to try and discard either your own Ribriannes or your own Draw Apes, right? That's the main point of that. then its active main once per turn Spirit Boost 1, or limit once, sorry, so you can, even if you have like 3 of these on board, you can only use the effect once. That's kind of what limit means. You can only resolve the ability once of this particular skill from this card once per turn. That's what limit kind of does. And then Spirit Boost 1 as well. You just get to play, you can play one margin token which has 15,000 power and 0k 5, 0 energy, 5k combo power, right? And you also get to take a life if you want to. This card's just, like, yeah. The reason why this card's insane is that it lets you, every turn, it searches your Unison, right, that you want to resolve in the first 2 turns, and it also gives you a free 15k swing every single turn. Like, yes, tokens are fairly easy answered with a lot of cards in the game, and green has an easy answer to it, but it's just insane value, like. And also its permanent skill, which is also insane, is that if this card were to be removed by a skill, or like removed from your battle area, you just instead just pop a token. That's just huge. So a perfect example is that, let's just say now you have one of this and a margin token. Now, if your opponent uses Secret Identity Marseille to wipe your entire board, so the tokens and this, you actually get to choose the order of which the cards are removed. So you just choose this first, and then its permanent skill will go off, removing the token instead. So it's actually really hard to remove this card, which is quite nice. And then the card that obviously this searches is the Bibbidi here, the Barbity, sorry. So the Barbity, 1k Unison, at first I thought this was kind of troll. I was like, well, it's got to get cleared instantly, right? I was completely wrong when I tested this deck, right? The permanent skill, this Bibbidi, is so relevant, right? As long as you have a Majin Buu, as long as you have a card in rest mode that has Servant, your opponent can't attack this card. So it kind of turns, the active main of this Barbity, gives it 2 markers, which is huge because a lot of our Spirit Boost cards take a lot of markers from it. And then you choose one of your Majin Buus with 15k power or less, that's in rest mode, so most likely to swing with this guy. You give it Servant and take 10k until the end of your opponent's turn. Literally just turns this card into a deadly defender, right, for your Unison specifically. Yes, your opponent can still attack your leader, but the fact that, like, this Unison is so hard to get rid of as long as you have a Majin Buu on board. I think it's just very, very high value. And the reason why I think this deck has a lot of potential, like, these are literally the main cards of the deck, right? You can literally kind of go from here. You can just deviate out of the Majin Buu engine completely, right? You don't actually need to play the 3-drop or the, like, any of the other Majin Buu stuff, as, like, you probably can tell just from looking at my deck. I hardly play any of the Buu chain. But just the fact that this 3-drop becomes a pseudo-deadly defender. It produces this Unison that's like really hard to kill. You're gaining markers every turn, and you're presenting a 15k swing for free. Or not for free, but like that's also a self-awakener and whatnot. You end up like not committing any energy on your turns, because this is to get both these out, it's 2 energy, right? And then and you're doing one of them on turn 1 and the other one on turn 2, so you usually have an energy alive to do whatever you need to do, right? But yeah, it's insanely high value. I recommend trying out. This is kind of like a token swarm deck, so that's why I've got a lot of token cards in here. So yeah, I think this is like the main card of the deck. I wouldn't be surprised if people deviate away from like the rest of the engine. Like this 4-drop's okay, and same with the 5-drop. The 5-drop's okay as well. But like just mainly like this engine here. Like this is like absurd. You get so much value, and you can just do generic green good stuff with this, which is quite nice. Might as well talk about this Majin Buu here. This Majin Buu has the same permanent skill as the previous Buu, where if it would be removed from your battle area, you just pop a token instead. Its order is that when you play this card, you choose one of your opponent's card and place it under this card, and then you also get to play a 15k token. That's okay. And the active main for 2 green is that if you have 3 or more energy, and you choose one of your green battle cards you have in play and take a card from underneath and place in the drop area, it has to be a battle card, right? So you can't choose your leader, which kind of sucks. Then you get to play this card from hand for 2. The fact that you can only realistically play this Majin Buu, if you have the Buu Hanks in play, I guess it's called Buu Hanks, I guess. I don't actually know what people would call this. The Buu Tanks, sorry, Buu Tanks. It's kind of rough. Like I think it's really good still, regardless. Like you pay 2 and kind of just like you get 2 bodies and you clear something from your opponent's side of the board, right? I think that's relevant. But the fact that it's pretty hard to play, I can see myself lowering this down to 2 maybe. But it's just an okay card for now. This negate's really good. This is essentially Toppo, right? But the difference between this and Toppo is that the whole entire effect of this card is in the counter attack skill. So even if your opponent were to God Sealing this card, for example, or Bloodlust it, whatever, the effect would still resolve. The only thing that hits this is counters to stop this skill. So this card's really insane. And then it's also got the same Union Absorb skill to go into the Buu Tanks again, so very nice. And the last card that is a Majin Buu card in this deck is our Majin Buu Unadulterated Destruction. This card, its effect is really powerful, so it has Deflect and Revenge, so its skill is going to resolve. It has the ability that while this card's in rest mode, if your opponent attacks your leader card, they have to discard 2 cards from their hand. Pretty good, not gonna lie. Pretty good. And then also when you play this card from your hand, it's a complete board wipe. This is the main thing of this card, right? Not only does it snipe, your opponent has to discard 2 cards from their hand, which is really good. You also clear every single non-token card in the battle area and Unison area. So the fact that, like, I think this card is, for green, I think, like, in my testing, I think this card's been the most impactful against blue late game, as well as yellow Sin Shenron, because it's kind of like, because the fact you're bottom deck and everything means they can't, like, spam out their Shadow Dragons again, just as an example, right, of something I've tested. But, for 5 energy, you can't cheat this card out. It's pretty rough, right? It can get bottom decked, like stuff like that. And sent to the warp, right? It doesn't have the greatest protection. Like even this auto, if you have 5 or more energy, when this card's placed in your drop area from your battle area, you can play it again. If you just warp it, it's not that big of a deal. I think if you're at late game, like the cool thing about this, right, that I said specifically, the best part about this card, with how it works in this deck and why I went for such a token heavy deck, is the fact that it doesn't remove tokens. So you can be sitting, like, you can have like 4 tokens on board, right, and you can play this card. You instantly clear your opponent's board and you still have your like 4 tokens plus this. I think that's like actually really high value. But other than that, like it is pretty scary because you kind of like leave yourself defenseless, right? Like the fact it clears your own cards as well. I think this card's good when it can go off, but it isn't necessarily as broken as I initially thought. I do still think if you were to tinker with this card deserves a spot in the main or the sideboard. It can, like, when it comes down in the right situation, it's like completely game warping, right? Like being able to like make your opponent's board irrelevant, right, is kind of nice, as well as getting 2 cards value. And if they do decide, they have to clear this first before they go for game on you, so it can be like pretty awkward at times. But just in my thoughts, I think this card is like, it's good, but it's not as broken as I actually thought it would be. But for sure, the fact that it insta clears Unisons is quite nice. But yeah, this is kind of like your end game card, I guess. So that's it for the Majin Buu stuff. We'll go over just the rest of the generic green stuff. We've got 2 Rubrian and 2 Drapes. Again, when you use this Majin Buu for the Buu tanks, you have to discard a card from your hand. Ideally, you would want to be one of these 2 cards. And because this deck isn't actually committing that much energy, like on your turn 3, you can literally just resolve one of these pretty easily without worrying too much, right? You can use your energy for like Cells Earth Destroying Kamehameha or Champa or like whatever you want to do. It feels quite nice. I do quite like doing that, and yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory for both of those. You can like choose what ratios you want or like side independently, but I think 2-2 split's pretty good. For defending Father Paragus, it's literally just the best super combo in the game. The fact that it lets you draw 2 first, then warp card is super relevant, and you don't need to bottom deck anything for the other super combo. So, and plus this is the best super combo in the game, like by far. Not much else to say about that. For charismatic villains, this is like a must if you're playing green. It's like one of the best cards in green. The fact that you can just pretty much answer anything that's immediately played. This card makes Black's life so difficult, because Black mainly wants to just play big 30Ks, and you're telling me like most of the Black cards don't have protection, so your opponent plays a Black card like Demigra or Gogeta or whatever, right? You just blow it up instantly. So you have to run this as a 4 of. 3, Dormant Potential Unleashed. This card isn't really played in King Cold because King Cold has just like a better version of this card, but in this deck it's fun. Like again, it just lets you be defensive. It just ends your opponent's turn. It's quite powerful. 2 Homicidal Clones. I think that if you're not playing these token negates, you're kind of trolling. I think these cards are too good. The fact that they're 2-for-1s, the fact they're free, the fact they self-awaken you, and the fact like so many decks, they're like Awakening Condition nowadays, pegs you down to 5 life, and then you can use this defensively. Go to 4, so your super combo's alive. I think I think you're legitimately trolling if you're not playing this in your main or side. Unless you're Black, then you can't play it, so that's fair enough. 2 Chilled, again, this is one of the other cards we have to summon tokens, and that it's not really used for the token skill, although be it I have done it and it has felt really good. But the main thing is that this is your main answer to barrier cards, like the active main for 2 green. You discard this card from your hand, and then you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, that has a energy cost that is either equal to or less than the total amount of cards in your opponent's hand, and then you just KO it. For late game, it's sometimes awkward killing big barrier cards, but it's never really come up where I haven't been able to kill the card I've wanted to use with this effect. But yeah, that's the main reason for it. Is essentially like Green's Kaioken Goku. And then, of course, the other ability has the flex, so you can play this to summon 2 Chill's Army's tokens, and its other effect does is pump them 5k each, so they make 15k bodies. Like 3 energy, 3 attacks is pretty good. It's just a high value player. I think green players should be looking to like main or side this card moving forward. It's just a generic, a good card. Then the Unison, my second Unison of choice is Metacooler Terrifying Horde. For those of you who do not know what this card does, again, we're going for a token swarmy deck for nothing. Just you get to do this for free every turn. You get to summon a Metacooler token that has the same properties as the Majin Buu tokens, being a 15k body that also has 5k combo power. Really good. Again, combos very nicely with our 5-drop. Like, if we've got this on board, we use the skill player token. If we can use the -4 as well, use that as well. So we get to establish 4 Metacooler tokens that don't get cleared from our 5-drops auto skill, so that's pretty nice. And it's also got a really powerful ability of being +1, you choose one card in your hand, discard it, then draw 2 cards. So again, lets you see more cards. There, I think it's perfectly fine if you don't want to run Metacooler. I think you can play Dark Broly instead. Dark Broly, if I would be mainboarding this, I'd have Dark Broly in the side, because there's sometimes where having a 20k double strike swing is very relevant. And both these cards don't genuinely like you. This Unison's kind of like, oh no, my Barbady's cleared. I don't really want to establish a second Barbady. I want to establish a better Unison, right? Like Dark Broly fulfills the that role as well, to be just like a card that's going to eat up our Spirit Boost effects. So I think it's also quite nice. 2 Champa. I try to fit Champa in pretty much every deck I play except for like Invoker. I try to fit Champa where I can. I think Champa's just a game ender. 2 Cells Earth Destroying Kamehameha. Feels pretty good. Again, we're just trying to play like good high value stuff. The fact that defensively, like 15k combo and sniper cut out of your opponent's hand, it's just insane. This card's kind of like a 2-for-1 card, right? Let's just say now, it's in the early phase of the game. Your opponent swings into this Majin Buu because they don't want to hit your leader, and they also can't swing into your Bibbidi because, you know, this Majin Buu has servants. So this Majin Buu's base 25k, right? They combo up a little bit, trying to kill it, and you're just like, I'll literally, if I only need 5k to out-combo this, sometimes if I know my opponent's not going to do anything else, and they've already dumped cards to combo into the attack, I'll just Cells and rip a card out of the hand. Just randomly, like, this is so disruptive. The ability to randomly snipe any card out of your opponent's hand can just be completely game warping. You might hit their SCR, their play for next turn. It's just a high value card. Next, our 2 Overrealms of choice. We have a SS4 Bardock fighting against Fate. You know, probably the best Overrealm card in the game by far. The free 2 attack seems pretty good. And then the other Overrealm I'm running is Trunks Power Overseeing Time. If you don't want to run this card, feel free to run another Fighting Against Fate or Secret Identity Marseille. But the reason why I'm running this card instead is that I've had so many games where I will swim with my leader and suck up my Unison. Not my Unison, sorry, my SCR. And I would just be like, damn, wow, not my SCR once again. And then I literally just used to grab the SCR back from it. But I think like the new Buu SCR is like one of the best SCRs ever printed. I think it's actually my favorite SCR ever printed. It's the SCR I've had the most fun playing, for sure. And this is literally just to grab it back if it goes under my leader. That's the only reason why it's in this deck. Before we talk about the SCR, the last card I'd like to go over is this Son Goku Spirit Bomb Unleashed. This card is kind of similar to the blue Tapion that for 1 blue energy lets you play it if you've got a Unison on board. This kind of has the same effect. If you have 3 or more energy and you have a green Unison in play, you can pay 1 green energy and play this card from your hand, and also remove 1 marker from your opponent's Unison. So overall, pretty good effect already. And then its other ability is Active Main with Spirit Boost X, and basically what the X in Spirit Boost means is that you can choose as many markers as you want. And then for every marker you remove on this card, it gains 5,000 power, and if you've at least removed 2, it will become a double striker. So pretty cool, kind of absorb the energy from your Unison onto this card. I've played this card a couple of times. It feels pretty solid every time I've resolved it. This card, like, I put it in to test it, but I'm honestly quite happy with this card performs. Like, one play you can do, let's just say now you're going into your turn 3, right? And you haven't awakened yet. So what you can do for 1, you can like uptick your Barbary Unison, get it to like 4 markers, then play this for 1, even if your opponent doesn't have a Unison, right? And then just sack your Barbary Unison, right? Just remove every marker from it, make this like a 35k double strike, swing with it, and then just simply like play either another Barbary Unison or like or your Medical Unison, right? So it doesn't feel that bad to do that. I've done that a couple of times and it's felt really strong. And yeah, overall I think this card's for 1 energy, it's pretty relevant, right? Like 1 energy, potentially like for a 35k double striker or like a 25k double striker is quite powerful. So it's nothing to scoff at. And also like in certain situations, removing 1 marker from a Unison can be huge. Like depending on like what the Unison is, or if it's like on 2 markers, right? Just by default, saying yeah, I'm just gonna remove a marker before you do your big plays is just insane. And then the last card of the deck is the Kibito Kai SCR, Majin Buu Kibito Kai Absorbed. I am absolutely in love with this card. This card, I'm going to dump money for this card. Like, I will actively search for this. This card has such an amazing effect, and this card, honestly, rivals Supreme Kai in power. The only thing that Supreme Kai of time has over this card is the fact that this card is only usable if you're playing a green deck. It's not leader locked, by the way. You just have to pay 2 green energy for it, right? So that's pretty interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if people are playing this, let's just say now, maybe in like in the future people might experiment with a bit more with like the Android stuff, the blue-green stuff, and playing this over Hachiak. I just think that's how powerful I think this card can be. So we'll go over the effects now. So the first effect is that it's got ultimate, it's got double strike, right? Amazing. The permanent skill, if this card's removed from the game, it's battle arrow, sorry, it's removed from the game instead, like every other SCR they print nowadays, makes sense. For 3 energy, you can evolve on top of a Kibito Kai. There's only 2 Kibito Kai cards in the game, one being a super combo from set 3 and the other one being in this set, which is just a 1-drop black card that lets you draw a card. A little bit relevant for sure, but you don't really want to be playing it with a skill when we'll go over its active main / battle, so you can play this card on either player's turn for 2 green. You just outright play this card from your hand. Insanely good. You're playing a 40k double striker for 2 energy, already insane. And then when you play this card, your opponent can't attack with battle cards for the turn. So it's literally like, when I say like blue-green decks might experiment with this over Hatch, this card has the same properties as Hatch, right? Like, yeah, it doesn't stop your opponent's every single attack, but like you're telling me my opponent can't swing with battle cards? Pretty good, I'll take that. And then this is the last effect is why I think this card's absurd. I love playing this card. Spirit Boost 2, when you play this card from your hand, choose one of your opponent's Unisons and gain control of it. You just kind of sacrifice your Unison to gain control of your opponent's Unison, right? That is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of SCRs I've stolen, like Unison servers have stolen this card. I've stolen Gohank's Unison SCR, Jiren Unison, Majin Buu Blue Unison. The fact you gain control of your opponent's Unison and instantly like deny them from having it is just ridiculously good. It's such a game warping effect, and the thing that's crazy about it as well, the only kind of color that can really stop this card from going off is yellow. You need a Cold Bloodless card or hit it with the Android. The Super 17 SCR. Because the thing is that if you're versing blue, right, which I'm saying blue a lot, referencing blue a lot, because I think, again, this deck has a fantastic matchup into blue, and on top of that as well, blue is a very popular color to begin with, at least here in OC it is. But if they Godseal this, it just goes back to your hand, and you can just keep on resolving this over and over and over again, right? Because blue's blue's not the fastest color in the world, so you have the luxury to resolve this card over and over again. If they do not answer this card, you will be taking control of their Buu Unison 100% of the time. It's just ridiculous. Like, yeah, this is just insane. On top of that as well, like, the fact that you steal your opponent's Unison, shutting off so many floodgates, like Dormant Potential Unleashed, God Sealing, stuff like that. You shut off so many plays for the rest of the game almost. It just puts them in such a crippling spot, and that means they're forced to, like, if they're a Unison-reliant deck, they're forced to just tap out for a Unison again or play a weaker Unison, right? This card's insanely good. Every time I played this card, it's overperformed, /won me the game. Like, this card is insane. If you're a green player, rejoice. This card is, like, instantly the green SCR you play, like 100%. It's just that good. And yeah, that is the deck profile, guys. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoy. Please subscribe to the Collector's Company if you're keen to do see more deck profiles. I will be doing much more in the future. I need to create content, you know. I promised I will do it. And yeah. Leave a comment on a deck you'd like to see, or if you have any questions on my take on the deck. I know a lot of people are like not entirely sure about this leader because the archetype isn't the most craziest thing, but I feel like some people will experiment with this deck and they'll find out like a very powerful configuration. This is essentially like Clash Coup 2, like the sequel to Clash 2, I guess. I think it's just the leader is superior to Clash Coup as like the just best generic green good stuff deck, right? But anyway, guys, really hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all on the next deck profile. This is John from the Collector's Company, signing out. Peace.